The Lotus Jawns, going through the journey strong. Life's a hustle and a bustle, we'll be with you all along. The Lotus Jawns, yeah, sometimes we get it wrong. That's the beauty and the lesson, keep it going, you belong. To you are a powerful Jawn. To you are a powerful Jawn.
Hey, John. How you
Hey,
doing?
what's up, yo?
Welcome back for another episode with your favorite Lotus.
Yeah, what's up? What's up? Where y'all been at? What you been doing? Okay, what y'all Jones been up to?
Today's topic of discussion will be
Spirituality.
That's what the spirit sounds.
So without further ado, we will open the same way we usually do.
Yes, we got a special affirmation for you guys. I hope that you write this one down because it took some
Well,
quality
sticky.
collaboration to get this one. We try not to make it too deep or too heavy, but I think it's still heavy enough. So I hope that this one makes it to your daily affirmation, the one in the morning, preferably. All right, deep cleansing breath.
By reflecting on the cosmos and those things greater than myself,
I am reminded of my place in the vast universes. Prayer, affirmation, and mindfulness are key.
I evolve through the study of all things that reveal the greatness in me. I am a powerful Jawn.
Whew,
Yes.
That was
That was a good one.
That was a good one.
a long poster for that.
All right. So for our first segment, catch up on everything.
Ketchup on everything.
We're going to
Ketchup
talk
on
about.
Salt, pepper, ketchup on everything.
Yes. We're going to talk about when was the last time you checked in with yourself spiritually. For some of us, it's every day. For some of us, it's once a month. For some of us, you never did it before, or whatever you're on. We're going to talk about what we've been doing. I guess I'll start.
Yeah.
I mean, I low-key check on myself spiritually every day. Like, I do my affirmation in the morning. I try to journal every day and just show some type of gratitude or something like that. But when I really kick it up a gear is when I sit down at my altar and I like basically pray and I talk to my ancestors and stuff like that. But I did that the last full moon. The end of October. We had 2 full moons in October. I did the last one. I sat down. I wrote down like stuff that I wanted to let go of, stuff that I wanted to bring in. I talked to my grandma a little bit, R.I.P. grandma, and I also pull cards. When I check in spiritually, I pull cards because I feel like it's just a way to get a message from like the universe trying to talk to me or my ancestors trying to talk to me. But yeah, that was the last time. Maybe like a week and a half ago. That was the last time I really did like a real chill sit down with myself and checked in. So that's me.
Dig it. What about you, sis? When was the last time you spiritually checked in?
I tried too to take advantage of those 2 full moons. I think it really is a great practice for me in my house. So like try to think of things I need to let go and release them. My favorite part of the full moon ritual, or I have a full moon ritual that includes a bath or whatever, and I really like it, adding all the elements to it, and I feel like it really gets me where I need to be, and thinking of the things that, like, what things really aren't serving me, what is it that I really need to let go, and one thing I don't even know where this came from, but I know for a long time I was asking for, I need to have this let go, and I never really, like, I know it's not really supposed to be a time of calling things in, but I also used that time to ask for the strength to deal with all the changes, because I like things the same. I like everything the same. So I like routine, I like things to be comfortable, and obviously when you're growing, you have growing pains, and things you can't stay the same. So I also ask for the strength to deal with and handle all the changes. I check in spiritually. I check in daily too, I also have, like some time in the morning where I have, and usually in the evening, but we've kind of got out of schedule, where I actually have, kids checking with themselves too. Like we don't go to church or anything, but I do think it's important for them to kind of learn how to connect with the world in a way. Like, trying to articulate this, I'm actually having a pretty hard time. I think about this a lot, though.
So it sounds like you check in daily, sis. You
I
check
definitely
in,
do.
reflect
I have
in.
the children
Yes.
check in daily. We do some, some meditation, and like I kind of remind them while we're doing that what the purpose is, and we want to be, we want to be good people. We want to be good to ourselves. We also want to be good to others, and that's what I do, a daily check-in. Some journaling, some card pulling sometimes when I feel it, and I definitely like to clear my space when I do so. Definitely a daily check-in.
Take it. I feel like I have more than a daily check-in. I feel like honestly I have more than a daily check-in. Because I check in frequently during the day. I usually have a rock on my person, like as my worry stone. This I'll usually have in my pocket if I'm at work. This one actually was in my bosom. I always have some random rock inside of my pocket, inside of my bra, that I find in the laundry when I'm doing it. But this worry stone is usually a reminder for me to practice gratitude. So it's like I thank the universe for all that I have, and I'm touching it. If I have it in my pocket, when I put my hand in my pocket, it's a reminder. If I feel it in my bosom, if I feel it, it's like, oh shoot, there's my worry stone, and it's a constant reflection. When I'm at work, generally, like my schedules, because I'm a night shifter, so I usually take my break at 3 a.m. And usually during that time when I take my break at 3 a.m., I'm usually driving up to the roof of the parking garage and talking to the moon. I say that loosely, it's not a real thing. But that's usually when I'm chanting, reading, listening to some chants, or practicing some level of spirituality. Generally, those chant times for myself are if I'm on it and remembering and not sleep, because I'm a night shifter, 9, 3, and 9. But when I can't do that, it's usually this stone or another stone like this that's a constant reflection for me to be mindful and remember, to acknowledge a force greater than myself, to check in with my ancestors and my home in general. It's my favorite place to be. My home is a constant reflection of my ancestors, because each and every room inside of my house, one of my ancestors has lived there, slept there, breathed there, ate food there. I do also have an ancestral altar that's right smack dab in the center of my living room that I burn incense on incessantly throughout the day. And I often do talk to my great-grandmother's picture. So there is always some layer of spiritual connection. Even throughout my day, if I'm having a stressful moment, I'm like, greatest, what should I do? That's what we call my great-grandmother. I feel like there's always some layer of ancestral connection, spiritual connection, or mindfulness throughout the day. Magic rocks are the way to go.
Right. I try to I'm not very good at it, but sometimes I'll try to use my jewelry as a focal point, because I don't always have them bangles, but sometimes I have a ring, and sometimes if I touch it and spin it, I'll try to set that up for the day, because I don't usually do it every day. If I touch it, then I usually find something to be grateful for and say it, and then, say
That's
thank
a
you.
great
I use my bracelet for I use
use
mine for not, that is a good idea for being grateful, but I use mine for when I get negative thoughts or start spiraling. So I'll if I get a negative thought, I'll switch it. And then if I am spiraling and stuff, I play with it. So
Try to cool yourself down.
Yeah, I notice when I'm nervous, I'm twisting it and doing stuff, and it kind of keeps me focused. And I noticed when I first started doing this, my negative thoughts went down by I want to say 60% within the first day. Just being mindful of your thoughts really helps, and I think you said, adding a layer of gratitude to that. I almost said adding a layer of fucking gratitude to that.
I mean, you did.
Yeah, you did. Man, you put all that.
No, I think that's that's taking it to a higher level. Let's keep these positive thoughts, and let's be grateful for where we are and what we have. But that leads us into our Lotus Pad. The Lotus Pad.
Lotus Pad.
So today on the Lotus Pad, we're going to be talking about honestly, us Lotus Jawns, we come from various religious backgrounds. Me and Ashley are technically Catholic. Leek, she was Muslim.
I was raised Muslim.
She was raised Muslim.
Yes.
And my mother is Muslim as well. And my grandma, who helped raise me, is Catholic. So
Yeah, my grandmother's Catholic too. My great grandmother was Baptist. I was just telling Zane I have Jewish cousins.
Yeah.
I have Hebrew Israelite cousins. My best friend in elementary school was a Buddhist. So I've had like
A lot of
we come from some like diverse backgrounds. So what we're going to talk about is like how we come from those kind of strict backgrounds in a way. They're very strict, very conservative backgrounds, and how we transition into how we are spiritually now. Like I think all of us are pretty spiritual, and like in different ways. And I say that because I think that spirituality is
evolving.
And it's individual. It's all about who you are and your personal ways of connecting to whoever you is that you talk to and you connect with. But let's get into that. Like I know me and Ashley Zing, aka Zing. I'm not allowed to call her that, and I might edit that out.
Zing.
So
that was part of Zing's evolution.
Was
How she became
Zing. I know her from the Catholic Ashley.
I know her from Nzinga, the evolution of Zing. Okay.
So we were altar girls. We were like hardcore Catholics.
Altar girls, we were on the choir. And some days we were on the choir and being altar girls. So doing like wardrobe changes as we spun through I don't even know what you call it. It's like a curve. I don't know, a curved hallway.
Yeah, went to each side of the church or something like that.
Yeah.
And we would go in one way as altar girls and come out the other way as the choir.
There you go. And then back the other way.
Back then to fall asleep at the altar. Well, that's what I did. I slept a lot at the altar.
I did too. I mean, the first time I remember my sleep.
Like, thanks, Mom.
The first time I fell asleep in church, I had a really big roll. I had finally.
Tell me the story.
Yeah, I was finally able to. I don't even know what you call them anymore. It's like a set of bells. They were connected together. It was 4 of them. Supposed to ring them after the priest said something special.
He was like praying over the bread and the wine. You ring it at the end of each one.
I was asleep.
How horrible.
It was hard sitting up there, man. You made like 12-year-olds sit there, which was only like an hour, but it felt like 3 hours.
But I will say, even though I'm not walking that path now, I feel like it prepared me to it gave me something to stand on. Like, you know what I mean? I
agreed.
Like,
I'm thankful for my journey.
Yeah.
As well.
Like, we were there a lot, so we weren't doing some other things we could have been doing and getting in trouble with at that time. I feel like it gave us some substance. And
a sense of community, too. Like, MBS, we were a family. I'm still friends with half the people I went to school at MBS with. Yeah, so, I mean.
Shout out to our MBS team.
Shout out to MBS, yes. But yeah, I feel like it gave me like a really good sense of like.
Well, what was your evolution? Let's start there.
My evolution?
Tell me, what was it? Because I know that you two have a joint venture.
Look.
Me and Zing discovered each other I was already going through my phase of self-discovery as far as spirituality. And I kind of pulled her in on my evolution. She was already walking that path.
Yeah.
But how did you get to this point, Bob?
I mean, I feel like for a lot of my life, I've always been confused. Always been confused.
Okay.
And there is one thing that someone said to me. I'm not even going to say it now. I'm saving that for my instant inspo. But my grandma Pam, shout out to my grandma Pam, rest in peace, Graham. She told me something. It changed the way I looked at God. Because for a while I felt like I didn't believe in God. I didn't understand what was going on. Because back when I went to Trinity, I went to a Catholic high school. So we were in theology class one day, and I was always into tattoos. I don't know how many I had, but I have a lot of tattoos. And I remember I asked the priest, I think it was Father Jason, I was like, hey, like, I really want to get tattoos, and like, I think that they're really cool. I like to adorn my body. I think it would be fun to do that. And he was like, well, you know, your body is a temple, and you're not supposed to deface it, and stuff like that. And I was like, but you smoke cigarettes.
Oh.
And I was like, you're defacing your body from inside out.
Did you even get the
Did you say that?
Yeah, I said that. And he didn't have anything to say. He kind of switched the subject and went back into teaching But honestly,
I wasn't in that class.
Honestly, that was a pivot point for how I thought about Catholicism. I was like, this is all bullshit. Like, that's what, like that, not that it is, because I know it works for certain people, but that's when I took it in as, this priest, who I really looked up to, didn't have the correct answer. He wasn't living how he was telling me to live. And it just made me it started spinning wheels. And I started looking at, like, Buddhism. I started looking at, what's the one they're called? Quakers.
I remember.
All that type
I remember
of stuff.
the Quaker thing.
Yeah.
we going to just brush past that.
So, it just led me to, like, not believing in anything for years. And honestly, when I started getting into, like, spiritual stuff with, like, the cards and stuff like that, but when I met Leek, when my grandma passed, Leek, like, kind of told me there's a way to talk to your ancestors. And that's when I set up, like, my altar, and I started praying more. I was already meditating every day and, like, getting a spiritual connection because I did this program with Ayanla Van. Shout out to Ayanla.
Yes, we have your t-shirts.
Yes, we do. Thank you. You changed my life.
Thanks, Mom. Great t-shirt.
Yeah, thanks, Mom, for hooking me up with that.
Yeah.
But after I kind of got the basis of my spirituality, I met Leek, and then I took it into, like, talking to my grandma and, like, really learning how to pray and how to ask for things and stuff like that. And I realized how personal it is. Like, nobody could really tell me exactly what to do. I had to play around with it and realize what works for me. And that's kind of like my journey. Because for a while, I would straight up say, I don't believe in God. I don't believe in that shit. Like straight up. And until I realized it was a big part of my life that was missing. Mm-hmm. And when I found that part of my life, I feel so much more complete because I have a vast thing that I can go to and release myself and get things back. And, like, it's so soothing, and it makes me feel like a powerful John. It makes me feel like a powerful John. Like, I can do anything I want through prayer. Like, honestly, I can do whatever I want.
It was so beautiful. I actually did not know that.
Yeah,
I learned something new. Like, wow, that's deep. Like, okay. You're welcome. I had no idea. But I'm glad that I could be a part of this. Like,
you can talk to your ancestors. I'm like, what? What do you mean? I'm like, Graham, are you out there? Are you listening?
That's deep.
I know, it kind of like, I mean, even though it doesn't make things the same, it kind of makes you confident. Confident to know that, because you always, I mean, they're not here in their physical form, but we still have a connection to them.
Yeah.
So tell us about your journey.
Well, I mean, I feel like it was sort of similar, but not, you know.
Was it?
Well, yeah, because it's not that I don't want to say that I didn't believe in God at all.
No, you got baptized when we first met.
So yeah, I did.
This is a long, we've got long-standing friendships here. It's really interesting to hear some of these stories, like, reflect, because I'm like, you definitely have re-enrolled in church, sis.
Right, and I feel like I was.
Got washed in the blood of the Lamb. You did.
See, the thing is, I remember I kept going to church and going to, like, religion. Not that, I mean, look, it really works for some people, and it really is some beauty in it. I mean, there's some other things about it too, but it really works for some people. And it did for me at one point, but there was one point where I feel like I started asking questions, or it just didn't resonate with me as much, and I feel like I had to pull out of it. But like she said, I think 2008, I was like baptized again. I was like, I'm safe, and then, like, I felt good, but I didn't feel right for some reason. I felt like I was doing it for all the wrong reasons. I felt like everybody else around me who was doing it or who had been baptized, they really, really wanted that. And I kind of felt like, not that somebody was making me, but I felt coerced. Sorry.
We got a technical difficulty. Just making sure we're cool.
It's there.
Okay.
I felt kind of, I'm not going to say coerced, but I felt like I was doing it out of fear. And it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel like, I didn't feel how I expected to feel after it happened. So it was a beautiful day. I'm glad I had the opportunity to see what Catholicism was like. To, you know, join another church family and meet some other cool people there. I still know some of the people from, you know, that point in time. But it just didn't feel right. And then I had this point in time where I'm not going to say I didn't believe in God, but I just felt so separate. And I feel like sometimes when I reflect back on religion, I always have felt that way. Like, I felt so separate from God, from the higher source, and I feel like over the years, reading different types of religious texts or non-religious texts that had to do with spiritual ascension in a way, kind of like I kind of found my own, like you said, like my own groove. Like, I know that prayer helps me stay focused. It helps me be a good person. It helps, like, like I know it has me set up in a way where I'm more balanced. But religion or being at church or like, just doing it that way wasn't really working for me. Sometimes I feel like,
so the baptism was a turning point. It was like, this ain't it.
Yeah, it was. Which is
was it like
which is horrible because
did you just feel like immediately it didn't work?
Not immediately. I mean, I'm saying I'm supposed
I
to.
don't
What are you like? What?
See,
It wasn't
I
as
really wonder,
immediate.
especially coming from Islam. Like, I wonder how that like feels. Like, is that what happened? Like, it's a real solid.
And
question.
the thing is, what's crazy? I feel like some of that, how I was expecting to feel, was based on what I was told. Like, like what I saw in movies or what I was told. Because even when we got baptized as Catholics, like, they just sprinkle a little bit of water on you. That's it. So there's some oils.
They hold like the little.
I forget what it's called. It's like
it's a little pool,
fountain,
right?
Yeah, kind of. And so it was completely different.
We got confirmation too. Did you do confirmation?
We definitely did. I feel like this is the last.
That was the last
right,
step
we
in
did.
before you become a priest or some stuff like that.
Yeah, you can't. I don't know if you can do that combination you were just about to do. But I feel like, I don't know if you asked me this, but I feel like growing up in Catholicism and around my Baptist family members and going to church and congregating with people and, like, getting to be a part of all these beautiful ceremonies and rituals and all of that kind of I feel like it made me way more tolerant than most people will think that makes you to other people's religions and the way that they practice and express.
A lot of religions are really similar in a lot of ways, and
I feel like a lot of time that part is like light is not shined on that. Like, I had family members who would come and visit our Catholic church. They would visit MBS, which is Most Blessed Sacrament. Well, it's no longer a church there, but
it is in our hearts.
Yes. Like, they would come and visit, and we used to have on the right side of the church, you remember where the statue of Mary was? Mm-hmm. There was a statue of Mary, and there was a bunch of candles and things that people would go and light there. It was pretty much, so in Catholicism, and I'm a little rusty, so this is not all exact, but they would be able to light candles and say prayers for things that were on their hearts or for people and kind of leave the candle, like kind of like pretty much a point of meditation and leave it. Some of my family members will go ballistic about their other they're praying
other
to.
sects of Christianity are not about that.
Right, and I'm just like,
like statue worship.
Yeah, I'm like, so this is not exact. That's not actually what's going on here. We're not nobody's worshiping this statue. It's just they're coming here to put themselves in a space to kind of let some stuff down and ask
it's an altar. It's an altar for you to come to.
So that I feel like that's when I started having family members visit church with me, was when I started to realize
there was a difference.
Yeah, that and how crazy it could get with people. Like, I was like, well, like,
how did you evolve to this point?
How did I evolve to this point? I feel like it took a lot of
And what is this point?
Right. I feel like
like, what is this point?
I feel like it took a lot of sitting down and trying to figure out exactly what it is that I wanted to do. Like, I know that I want to pray and I want to, live a good life, but I don't necessarily know if I can be a religion. So I just, through reading some other things and like pretty much hearing what other people have to say. Not everybody I know, it comes from a background in religion. Some are Muslim, some are, other things. And it's just like, just having a tolerance for what all is out there. I don't know if that's the right answer or not, but it kind of worked for me.
And I think it's also like figuring out what's up with your connection. Like, I realized my connection was full of guilt.
Right.
Like,
that's what I'm saying. I always felt guilt.
I felt so guilty because I was like,
fearful.
Sometimes I would literally start off my prayers like, "Dear God, I know I haven't talked to you in a while, but it's me, Faz, and I need like your help or something." And I would feel bad that I was asking God for something, and sometimes I wouldn't even ask because I'm like, Are you
felt
gonna hear this?
so
Because like, I
less
haven't
than,
talked to
right.
you in like mad long. Sorry about that.
Because Islam, you pray 5 times a day, so it's like a constant. Yeah.
So this is the thing.
That's deep.
You when I first got, like, I kind of knew that growing up, but when we first got together and you told me that, like, and you kind of like laid it down. I don't remember exactly what you said.
So you were going through your spiritual journey.
Right.
You asked me if I could take you to a mosque. I myself was going through my own spiritual journey, but I was still covering as a Muslim.
Right.
So I was like, she was like, "Can you show me what Islam is?"
Right.
And I took you to a mosque. It was like
Beautiful.
It was really beautiful. But she didn't even know that I was going through my own layer of evolution, like out of Islam.
Girl, we took our shahada. We took our shahada.
Like, this is, we really did. This was like
Thanks, Mom.
a winding road.
Deep,
Yeah.
deep. But yeah, it was.
But it was the same thing as getting
Yeah.
baptized. I was like, is this what I'm
Yeah,
like?
I
I just
because you asked me about Islam.
What am I
I remember I
supposed to
took you to Juma on a Friday,
Right.
And you talked to the imam a little bit afterwards because you had so many questions. It was deep. It was deep.
it was I mean,
Yeah, it was.
it
deep.
was, I feel like it was good.
It was a great
needed
point,
it.
I think, in our friendship because you went from, like, I think it was like a perfect exchange. Like, you went from being Ashley, you had just started wearing your hair natural. Like,
Yeah, it
you
was
taught
a
me
lot
how
of
to wear
different
my hair
things going
natural
on.
when I came out of the scarf. And I showed you what Islam was, even though I was, like, on my exit. And I remember at the point when you were like, I'm no longer Ashley. I'm evolving into a new version of myself. And it was like we need to name her. It was like we have to find a name that is, the embodiment of this new phase of your life, sis. And
it's
it was
crazy
like
because I remember that theme kept coming up with different
Yes.
people in different circles, but like,
and she became the Queen Nzinga. It
yeah,
was like
but
beautiful.
and I remember I didn't even like pick it out of the great name book. Like I didn't pick it out. Like it just, I felt like it
It
just
coming
kept
to you.
popping up. Like by the third time
That's
I was
why I'm
like,
going
this is it.
Ashley. This is the thing, okay?
Yeah, I'm not on that train yet. I'm working on it. Not there yet. But I respect it. I call you Zing on the show.
Sometimes we not
That's
talking.
work. I'm getting there. I'm getting there.
I feel like she's become Ashley back and forth. She be having her Ashley moments, which is cool.
I just know
Ashley.
some mama named Clay. I'm gonna call him Clay. That's how I feel.
Yeah. But it was like really beautiful to watch you go through the evolutionary process. While I was simultaneously going through my own.
Right.
Yeah, where are you now?
Great question. So I, like you guys, but different. I was raised in Islam.
Right.
So, like, I went to Arabic school. I went to Sunday school where I learned about Islam. I'll say it was the other fun thing too is my mother was the first generation Muslim. So she took her Shahada when she was in high school, and my mom went to Catholic school. So she decided in Catholic school she wasn't, Catholic anymore. My grandmother was furious.
I think my mom was Muslim when
Yeah.
she was young too. I think she became Muslim
Yeah.
probably before I was born because I got an Arabic name.
Yeah, my grandmother was curious, and my mom decided that she was going to be Muslim in Catholic school. But yes, so she became Imani Abdullah. And from there, we were all, my older sister's name is Shahada. That's like the first declaration of faith. So it's like from there, we all, we were the first generation Muslims in the family. So my grandmother's Catholic, my great grandmother was Baptist. We have Baptist family members. So it's literally when I was little,
It's
like when we went over my
mix.
grandmother's house, or if my grandmother had to watch us on the weekend, I was always in the Golden Alert meeting at Miller Memorial Baptist Church here in Philly, okay? All the little old ladies, they were like, all of my grandmothers, I'm sure most of them are on the ancestral plane right now. But I'm grateful for the experience. So I got to see what Baptist church was like. The same was going with my grandmother. We went to Palm Sunday with her. I braided palms. Ash Wednesday was really like an interesting thing for me. There's certain things that I was exposed to as a Muslim child. They had absolutely nothing to do with my religion. Again, I said one of my first best friends was a Buddhist, so I learned about Buddhism through her. My mother also exposed us to different sects of Islam. So we went with the Baha'i. I learned about the whirling dervish. I saw other Muslims practice outside of my version of Islam. And my mom was also good with exposing us to other things. Like we had Native American roots. We went to the powwow. So I always had some presence of the idea of a great spirit. You know, so
whether
it's like
it was exactly
right.
as you were or not.
So in Islam, you know, they say that God is Allah, you know, which translates as one God. So it's like if I'm going to church with grandma, you know, they might say Jesus, God, whatever. You know, I'm like, okay, it's just another fancy word for a higher power. So I always felt spiritually connected. I'll say in high school was probably the first spiral where I realized that I was a little bit different. Because I realized that other Muslims were raised a different way. So you had this version of Islam where this Muslim dressed this way, talk this way, act this way, or the do's and do nots that maybe didn't fit into every other sect. My mom was a little more, she was stern and strict, but also very free-spirited in what she exposed us to. So I remember in high school, I went to Girls High, 250. I was in an Islamic club. My older sister, you know, Shahada was like, yeah, you know, we're in an Islamic club. But I was also in African American Student Union, which was something that the other Muslim girls were like, what? No, it's all about, you know, just being strictly Muslim and strictly exposed to those things. We were in the West Indian Student Association. You know, I was in Treble Clef. So I sang on regular choir, which was something that some Muslims were like, no, you can't sing and be a Muslim. I played an instrument. I played guitar.
Which instrument you play?
I played guitar and I also played guitar. Yes. Beans. I didn't say I was good at it. I said that I played. You know, so it's like some Muslim sects are like anti-wind instruments. They're anti-certain instruments. You know, the same with dance. Like certain sects of Islam, you don't publicly dance as a woman because
that
it
part
can be seen as sensual. That's why
Faz's mom had made that point before.
But there were things that I participated in that some sects of Islam would have been like, oh my goodness, that's haram. Or, you know, you're not supposed to do that. But within my own self, I knew that if I carried myself as a woman or if I wasn't trying to be sexual or appear in that way, that I felt like it was okay. I also joined gospel choir with my older sister.
Shout out to gospel choir.
Yes, I was in gospel choir.
Every kid should be in a gospel choir.
Shout out to Shahada. Yes, I listen to gospel music. I like Mary Mary. I actually had Mary Mary play in my room in my house when I was in high school wearing a scarf, making salat. I liked it. You know, Mary Mary and a lot of their music, they actually didn't say Jesus. So I was like, if you're, you know, giving thanks and praise to the Most High, why wouldn't I listen to that? It's good quality music. You know, it's better than quote unquote secular music where you listen to, you know, shaking booty grinding music. So I realized that I had eventually reached a point in my version of Islam where I did not fit. It was like, I like to chant. There wasn't always chanting in Islam. I like to meditate.
Right.
Meditation didn't necessarily exist in Islam. I enjoy music. That was something that also didn't exist in my version of Islam. And at that time, when we were in high school, it was also a Muslim revolution happening in Philadelphia, where it was a lot of people taking their shahada, wearing all black overgarments, and learning about Islam, not so much in a structured way.
Right.
And I remember the first time I remember seeing a veiled Muslim on the bus cursing. I was like, oh my
goodness.
You know, like, because in my upbringing, the Muslim women who wore a veil didn't go outside. You were married, your husband worked, you didn't have to go outside. You were being pampered and taken care of. You might have had a housekeeper. That was my version of a covered up Muslim. So it's like, this Muslim woman is wearing gloves, a niqab, and a veil, talking on the phone and cussing. Oh my goodness. That was something that you would have never seen a Muslim woman do at that time. And I remember my friends or my classmates would say, you know, Malika, you're a real Muslim. Like, and I'm like you're different than those other quote unquote Muslims. And I remember feeling so strange about that. Like what do you mean?
Yeah.
You know, like, thank you. But I began to tell myself that I was a Muslim based off of definition, not by social construct. So Muslim means a person of peace. I will forever be a quote-unquote Muslim, a person of peace. I will always have peace in my heart, always want peace for other people. The principles of what Islam meant, they're not going anywhere. But the structure of what that religious dogma meant evolved with time. And I realized that there were some loopholes in it. There were some things that I needed that were missing. And
that part right there.
As I began to study more, the Arabic language, the religion as a whole, I realized that there was racism in Islam. I realized that the translation of the most beautiful book that I had ever, you know, learned, that there were pieces of it that were incorrect. And it broke my spirit, but in that brokenness, I discovered so much more. It was like, I remember my first mate, shout out to Who You Are, you know, asked me a question that said, would you prefer truth or tradition? He said, truth or tradition? And I said, truth. And from that, it opened up a whole spiral of doctrine, books that I had never heard of before.
Things that you probably wouldn't even touch on because out of tradition.
Right.
Even though you were kind of,
I probably would have never known.
Free.
And I learned so much. I did from those. From that answer to that question, I was exposed to so much more. And from there, I started studying the doctrine. I started reading some of the older scrolls of Imam Isa. My world just kind of flipped on its head. And from that point, it's just kind of continued to evolve. From that point, like you saying, I changed my name. It was like for a long time, nobody could call me Malika. My Facebook and Instagram name, Ma'at for Baba, actually was the birth of my second name. My whole name just like keeps updating. But Nasaytat, Ma'at, Nafartat, Rayatat, Hatat, Ma'un. For short, Ma'at for Baba or N for B. So
M for B.
M for B, right? Ma'at for Baba, or Truth and Justice for Baba.
Well, there's one thing you said about
my spirituality has continued to evolve. Right now, I'm an animist. Like, I believe that all things have life. I focus on my ancestors. I acknowledge my ancestors, that every living thing is connected in a spiritual way. I've been, I literally have walked through just about every school of thought and read almost everything that there has to do with religion. I'm not an expert in any way, but I have, I've learned so much, and I feel like in learning the connection between religions, I've become more open and accepting to the fact that there are a lot of differences, but very much similarity. And there is unity in it if you can get past the point of division. Because
right.
For the most part, the argument within all religions is that my God or my religion is better than yours, when there's holes in each and every one of them. But all of the prophets that are mentioned,
and everybody's just trying to
say be a good person and love your neighbor.
Yeah.
I thought about something the other day, and I kind of it was kind of trippy, but I was thinking how, because at first I didn't understand what it meant to have universes, multiverses and stuff like that. But then I thought about us as humans and the cells that make up our body.
I think this was a trippy conversation.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I was talking to Dean about it in the bathroom, and I was like, dude, our cells, all of our cells have their own operating system. They're all their own beings. They're like a person, and they're all together to make our bodies. But then I'm like, those are little universes, and all those little things are little universes that makes up me. That I'm a little universe, and then I'm in this other universe, and it's just we're all connected. We're all connected in this, and I think once we realize how much we're connected and how much we're alike, it'll make stuff flow better. Because even though we all might have different beliefs or even different political stances and stuff like that, we're all the same motherfucker. We're the same person.
Really?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're all the same. We're all kind of.
I would say.
I don't know if I would use that language per se, but I get where you're coming from.
Cursing John.
Definitely the Cursing John. I can be the Cursing John sometimes too. But I get what you're saying. Fundamentally, we all. I feel there are some beings on this earth and in this universe and whatever they are malicious. I do believe that.
Yeah.
But I feel for the most part, for people who are seeking religion or community in that way or whatever, are trying to be better versions of themselves.
Right.
Like you were saying, we're all trying to attain a higher level of
Perfected
understanding. Yeah. But there was one thing you said about you were saying there was something missing there in religion where you couldn't. I always felt
I was trying to find the pieces and put it into my
because
version.
I feel it's all so personal. Nobody can write a scripture or whatever it may be that fits every single individual person perfectly. You have to make up your own spirituality and your own connection with God, and
keep searching for it because I feel like it's out there.
Or keep searching for it if you haven't found it yet. It is a way to feel I almost look at the way I look at God as a permanent hug.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no, so cute.
He or she, I don't know but they're, I don't know. They hold me. They hold me, and it's so much more comforting when you have that. And if you don't have that, I feel it's worth fighting for to find.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. But So this will lead us to our next segment.
Yes.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Roll it on.
Adulting. How do you adult being spiritual? What does adulting have to do with spirituality? So what we wanted to talk about is, kind of in a way, spirituality might not be for everybody.
I mean, I feel like everybody.
I feel like it might not be. I feel like the difficult part in this stage of my adulting.
Oh, I should say religion might not be for
right.
everybody.
I feel like the difficult stage in this layer of adulting is coming from like a staunch religious background is trying to navigate the space to make it normal to be this layer of spiritual. Because people are only used to one thing. So it's like you're approaching the holiday season and already I was a Muslim. So it's like I'm not a Christian. Christianity, is a beautiful religion for those who practice it. The idea of Christmas, we always had Christmas because I had Christian relatives. But in this layer of my adulthood, I realized, especially coming from a background in nursing and being on cultural competencies committees and things like that, it's like there's almost no space for the person that exists outside of the option. It's like monotheism, 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 monotheism. Fill in the blank. Are you Christian, Catholic, Jewish, Buddhist, Taoist, and then there's other. There's almost no space for the other. And it's almost at a point where we're reaching a place, I think, where we're trying to make it socially acceptable to just say I'm spiritual, or I'm this. I feel like that's the journey in my version of adulting. It's like, is this a safe space to tell you that, hey, no, that's not my box that I'm checking.
Right.
Yeah,
I carry my magic rock.
Typically, like I have on my vision board of like creating my own traditions because like I was raised Catholic and Christmas was a big deal at my grandma's house. It was a big deal, and in my heart it's still a big deal. Even though I'm not Christian, I love Christmas. I believe in the Christmas spirit. It is real, and shout out to fucking Santa Claus. So,
oh Lord.
So I know, but
I love it.
I'll explain why I think the Christmas spirit is real.
No, I mean, you created your own layers of spirituality. You've taken it, you've revamped it, the spirit of gift giving.
People get nicer around Christmas. People hold the door for you. They give you presents. Yes, people are a lot jollier around Christmas time. Some people. Now, sometimes Christmas brings on depression. I get it because some people are alone, and I get it.
Things like
but
that.
some people, it's a very exciting time of the year. I
She's
I feel
excited.
Really
you're
excited
like
your eyes are like
Eve
lighting
excited
up
right now.
Because if everybody jumped on the Christmas bandwagon, even though it is, I understand it is BS.
Serious.
I understand it. I get if you don't believe in it. But if we hopped on a wagon of being in this jolly time when it's dark outside and people don't want to do anything, you throw on your Christmas lights, you're excited. It's just like a time of joy.
I agree.
I feel like we should have some more joy in our hearts.
I wouldn't necessarily call it Christmas. There's Children's Day.
Or Winter Joy.
Children's Day is one thing that I do participate in. So it's ideally the gift giving is geared around the little people. It's a time of, it's winter solstice. It's definitely a time of family, community.
Yeah, that's what I like. I like being with my family, honestly. I like just eating good meals, sitting around, drinking, talking. Like, I love the family time about it. And I'm creating my own new tradition this year because this is my first Christmas without my grandma, so it's a big deal. But all my sisters want to come over for Thanksgiving, and I put my tree up as soon as possible, which is the day after Thanksgiving. So we're going to come over for Thanksgiving. We're going to have a vegan Thanksgiving. Shout out to Asia, my sister, who's a vegan. And we're going to have a sleepover, and then the next day we're going to wake up and decorate the tree, and that's going to be my new tradition.
Aww.
You can be whatever you want.
You can be and do whatever it is that makes your heart content.
Yes. Well, one thing that I think about often in my adulting and in regards to or relation to my spirituality is what am I supposed to tell these kids? Like, you know what I mean? People been asking me that since I'm like,
what do you tell the kids?
I mean, I try to encourage them to have some autonomy in that space. I mean, in that area. I mean, they're young, so they only can really kind of get what I give them. Now, the older one, he's kind of doing his own thing a little bit. But I do want them to know that, like, I want them to know that I'll accept them no matter what. Like, you can choose what you like. or you could choose what resonates with you the most. Like we just, like you said, like when we were younger, we had that different exposure to different things. I feel like you had more exposure than we did, but
a lot of exposure. A lot.
But like, if I know that my oldest son, sometimes he has been to church with his grandmother. He does. I mean, he seems to like it. He doesn't really, that's not something like going to church on Sunday is not something that is a drag for him or like makes him feel uncomfortable. He's okay with it, so he does that. The two younger ones, they're usually their other side of the family isn't really. They don't really do they're not really religious. Period. They don't seem to be really spiritual either. My side, the same thing. I feel like they were raised primarily Baptist, and like everybody has like on my side of the family has a basis of like they've been to church and they know they need to pray and be grateful and things like that. But so I just try to let them. I do try to expose them to different things. Like we do talk about like Buddhism, and I do have them come in with me and do meditation and try to like tell them where I pulled that from. Like I didn't just make this up.
I feel like that's the best way to connect. Honestly.
Yeah, because I don't want them to feel like I do feel like they definitely are going to grow up different than how I was. One, I'm not the same as my mother, but we don't go to church every weekend, and they don't have that same religious basis. Yeah, so I think about it a lot, and sometimes, every now and then, I do question myself whether or not I'm making the right decision and letting them be so free or not. Just for me, I have had that thought, like, out of tradition, should I just take these kids to church so that they have something and we have all of these rules?
Or create church in your house. Maybe y'all can have like Sundays we meditate together.
But we meditate together a lot, and we pray. I don't necessarily call it praying, but we do pray together, like so. That's what I've been doing. I've just been trying to do what feels most natural. I feel like in the end, hopefully it works out. I'll let y'all know on episode 10,000.
I feel like as long as you got the ingredients of like be a good person, do good things. I feel like that's a universal that spans every religion. Be a good person, do good things, try to be a better version of yourself. Now go. It's like I feel like that's the main point, and you got that part as a mom. I'm joining. It might not feel like it every day, but you
not
got
every
that
day.
part.
I don't feel like
You
it,
got
but
that part.
yeah.
So we can go into our next segment now. Just feeling myself.
Feeling myself.
So this is when we kind of check in on like what we've been doing to take care of ourselves.
Spiritually.
And since we're talking about spirituality, what have we been doing to take care of ourselves spiritually?
I cleaned my altar.
Yes.
I did. I was so proud of myself. Oh, other things. One of my new favorite places. Okay, so this is what happened. It was COVID outside. One of my favorite places on South Street is the Garden of Letters. Hopefully they will watch this episode and give us all free memberships and let us purchase everything that we want. They are open.
Okay, so they're open.
So the Garden of Letters was closed because it was COVID outside, and I was like, man, I need another worry stone. I have so many of these. There's like one in my car. There's like probably one stuck underneath my car seat. There's probably one underneath my bed, underneath my right and left pillow, somewhere stuffed on the couch. Anyway, probably in two cool pockets. But I realized that I needed more stones. And the Garden of Letters was closed.
I got 86.
Yes. And one thing that I really got from the Garden of Letters, I have a singing bowl, and if you were at my home, I would show it to you. So I have a singing bowl in the note of C, and when I feel like I need to be balanced in my heart chakra, I will play this singing bowl. Mm-hmm. So when the Garden of Letters was closed, I found this other store called Nepal, Tibet.
Is that the one we went to?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
What South Street?
Is it on 12th? Right?
I don't remember. It's Googleable. But I love it. I actually went there this week, and I spent more money than I probably should have, but I got 2 new singing bowls. These 2, one is in the note of B and the other is in the note of D. They're both made out of metal, and when you actually like gong it, you can feel it vibrate, and if you bring it like up and down your center, I'm going to do this on one video so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But you actually can feel it vibrate, and it vibrates in the room. It's a beautiful thing. So I cleaned off my altar. And at my altar, I have like pictures of my ancestors, my great-grandmother, my uncle, my grandmother's younger sister who passed before I was born. And the structure of it, of like my ancestral section, was like, it was dusty because my incense had like fallen to the wayside. And I said, let me just take a cloth and wipe this off and redecorate it. And oh, it looks so beautiful. It actually makes the rest of the living room look like it needs a little bit of help. But that was my Feelin Myself of the week. I dusted off my altar and bought 2 singing bowls. But I will share with you
I
the
feel like
later
you really
episode.
did it up
I
this
did.
week.
I was like so excited. Right, Nepal.
That store
Yes,
is
a wonderful
beautiful and
store.
dangerous because
It
I went
is.
in there and did the same thing, but it was over the summer. So what I realized is like I had all these different. They're just for me just tools, focal points, and things to remind me to be, be on point, be grateful, pray, all of that other stuff. Be a beautiful person. So what I did was I had it all like scattered all over my room. So I kind of like put it all on my dresser, and I feel like for some reason me lining all my stuff up makes me keep my dresser more clean and a little more serious about it than I usually do. My dresser look like it needs some help. Like what mail is this? I already paid that bill, but like so basically what I did was kind of like put everything in a central area, and I found some little knickknacks at Five Below too. They had this little what do you call it? Sand garden with the little rake. And I just sometimes I use it when I'm meditating for some reason. I mean, not for some reason, but obviously it's a big hit with the kids.
Yes.
I'm like, sometimes I use it for when they need to calm down. You look like you need to center yourself. So I'm going to turn on. I'm going to turn on some music, and you need to go. You need to take a mindful moment. Here's the garden. I want the garden. Usually turns into calmness, so we're gonna keep pushing the garden. Nice. So just adding a few more tools, some visuals for myself and the boys.
Nice.
I'm trying to think what I've been doing spiritually. I fell off of like meditating every single day because I was like waking up.
It happens.
I was waking up and I was meditating, and it was making me. I did it last week.
You did yoga that time.
Yep,
I did. Yeah,
and I missed it.
I did yoga twice actually. Yeah.
There you go. You did things. See, look
And
at
you
that.
know what? I said when I did yoga that day. Shout out to Jerry Omni for doing the community yoga over in Hawaii. Shout out.
Well done. It was great.
She posted, and when I decided that I was going to do it, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna make it moody AF in here. So I shut off all the lights. I put like my twinkle light on. I lit some incense. I made I lit some candles, and I just made it real soothing. And I checked in to the yoga session maybe like 10 minutes beforehand, and I just laid there and meditated and kind of got myself in that zone because I was like, it feels so refreshing to like have the lights low and quiet music on and like Lee's house. Seriously, you go in there, nap time. It's time to take a nap. Time to go to bed. Where's the blanket?
You can hear the duck playing from
It is. It is.
But yeah, that was kind of like what I did, and I did take my on my altar. I took my grandma's picture out and put it in a different frame because like it was in a plain white frame, and the one that my great grandparents are in is in like a wooden one. So I put her in a white wooden frame, and that just made me, because every time I looked at it, I was like, you deserve a better frame, girl. And I finally got her one, and that made me feel good. And my other thing I did was I actually did a reading and a meditation with my sister at my altar. And it's cool because it's like she's connected to them too. That's her grandparents as well, and it's nice to just have that energy. And I read her cards, like, and I specifically talked to my grandma when I'm reading cards. So it was like, I don't know, it was cool having my sister in that space.
I know.
Yeah, it was really nice. That's kind of what I've been doing.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah. So you was feeling yourself.
Yeah.
You was all like, I don't know. What's
You was feeling yourself a lot, sis.
Yeah, but like our last segment is Instant Inspo. This is when we leave you, Johns, with some positive flow
words
and glow.
words.
So I just got done talking, so I'll let one of these Johns go.
I'm gonna say my Instant Inspo is a part of affirmation that I say daily. I am in the divine love of all, and all love is me.
Yeah. Divine love of all.
I'm still kind of reflecting on.
It's longer than that, but I'm going to give you those two lines.
What I would drop.
I'm in the divine love of all, and all love is me.
Nice.
Yeah.
I like that. That's cool.
I
guess, well, I'll go to it.
Yeah, she's still thinking.
Well, I spoke on it earlier. I was like, I want to bring this back up in my Instant Inspo. But my Instant Inspo is actually a little saying that my grandma Pam told me because like honestly, I've been searching for like my connection with God for a very long time. I've always been questioning everything. So I asked my grandma. I was like, "Yo, Gram." So she was Baptist, and I was like, "Gram, so if you don't get saved, right? Like you're going to hell." And she's like, "You gotta get saved." And I was like, "Well, what about the little kid in like some country that's never heard of Jesus Christ? They've never heard of Christianity. All they know is this little flower. They like this flower a lot." And I was like, "Do they go to hell because they didn't get like baptized and accept Jesus Christ as their personal savior? What happens?"
Right.
And
it's a deep concept.
Yeah, and I was maybe 10 when I asked her. I was like, "Do they go to hell?
Right.
Like they didn't get this info?"
I asked my grandmother that question. Who's a Catholic? I did it.
Yeah, I was like, it was kind of like scary to me, and she told me, and I will never forget this. It's kind of like, this is what initially got the wheels turning. She told me, she was like, God is basically right here. Like, say it's like God is up here. And she said there are a bunch of ladders to get to God. You can choose whatever ladder you want to get on. Just make sure you connect to your God. And I was like, whoa. So what's going to be?
Grandma.
And it's basically like the ladder is your journey. Whatever journey you take to get a connection to God, you take that, because Islam works for people. Christianity works for people.
Right.
Judaism works for people. It's just all about how you connect to God and knowing that that is your personal connection to God, and it shouldn't be like put on anybody else. That's what you do. So, and my grandma said that as a hardcore Christian. She believed in that. And when she told me that, I just realized, I was like, I gotta find, how am I going to get to God?
Right.
Like, and I just started calling God, but it was just like, how am I going to get to this higher power that kind of has everything in its hands?
Like, where's my ladder?
Right.
Got the whole world.
So, one thing I feel like, so to drop some jewels in this instant inspo, I feel like one reoccurring theme in our journeys, or that most people will see, is that when, and I've heard this as a saying, I'm not really sure who said it, so don't kill me for that, but like the saying goes something along the lines of, whatever it is that you are seeking, if you are, wholeheartedly seeking it, you will find it. Like, it's going to be okay. Because I used to feel really anxious about, like you said, like, how am I going to get this? How am I going to get this?
Right.
And I've heard that saying somewhere before. I don't know if it was you who said it. Maybe it was one of your books.
Perhaps.
But I believe that.
It's kind of deep, too, that there's an overarching theme in religion that, if you don't get it right, you're going to go to this fiery place of hell. And I feel like that was also another thing that kind of pulled me out of religion in that sense. Because I'm like, if God is a loving God, like the same way as you as a mother would see your child do something terrible, you would never dream of like putting them into a vat of fire and watching their skin melt off. It sounds absurd,
horrible.
So for me, I know that the ancestors, I know that my ancestors loved me. I know that my great grandmother, her every breath was how much she loved me. I know that anybody in my own lineage, the same way my mother, I could get on her nerves, but I know that she loves me and she'll love me for forever.
What if God just tells us that so we won't do it?
But I don't think my mother would. I don't think my mother would ever say anything like that.
I'm gonna burn you.
Can you imagine a person saying that in this day and age?
Right.
Like if you said that about your children, somebody would 302 you with the quickness.
Right away.
But honestly, like thinking that my hands would get cut off if I stole stopped me from ever stealing. I don't steal.
Listen, I do feel like the lessons within religion are important.
Right.
Because they create a balance of good and bad. Just like what you should and should not do. But I feel like as I've evolved my own spirituality,
your common sense.
I feel like I'm learning to be my own compass. Is it right? Is it good? Is it beneficial?
And to listen to that.
To be your own compass. Because if it's always based on the threat of hellfire, like
what happens the day you're no longer scared?
Right.
You get what I'm saying? And I don't know, you know them kids. Only one of them is scared for half the day.
That's true. You got some bold children, sis. They ain't scared at all.
The older they get, the bolder they get. So.
Yeah.
Well, any reassurance, I was a bold child.
Definitely.
I turned out alright.
You turned out awesome.
You did really good.
I remember I used to make my mom chase me when I got in trouble. So
I think we all ran, actually.
Yeah, I would run. I was a runner. Say no, but we hope that this episode kind of gave you a feel for our journey and how we ended up where we are, and it's basically your own journey. So if you haven't started, get excited about starting. It's worth it. It's worth it.
And if you are religious, I also say, pour yourself into your religion.
Mm-hmm.
Study that book that you know that's important to your religion. Study the Bible. Study the Quran. Study it so that it vibrates, in your heart. So that you are content. Because one thing that I've learned, like, through my own journey is that most people don't actually read.
Mm-hmm.
They don't read it. Like, you could say, I'm a Christian in my heart, but do you read the book? I'm a Muslim in my heart, but do you read the book? I'm a Jew in my heart, but do you read the book? Study it.
Yeah.
All right. So we're closing out on our Lotus Jawn fashion. Mm-hmm. Our deep breath in and out. By reflecting on the cosmos and those things greater than myself,
I am reminded of my place in the vast universes. Prayer, affirmation, and mindfulness are key.
I evolve through the study of all things that reveal the greatness in me.
I am a powerful Jawn.
And so
Peace,
are you. Peace, y'all.
Peace, y'all.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, like, subscribe, share it with your friends, and give us some feedback on what you thought about this episode, and also what you would like to hear more from us.
And check out our episodes that are here.
And our lives. Every other week.
Every other Thursday, we go live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great time to get us in real time.
Yeah.
Love you guys.
Question. Yeah. Peace. Peace.